Your number one Christian hit station presents Dog Watch. Former San Antonio police officer, author, and pastor Tim Rupp takes you through real-life scenarios and discusses excerpts from his books. You've never heard cop talk quite like this. Dog Watch starts now.
Well, hello there, and welcome to Dog Watch. I'm Tim Rupp in the Rev.fm studio. Here it is, Gary, December 20th.
Here we go.
Christmas is Monday, next Monday. You know,
it's exciting.
And this weekend in Water Springs, we're having our normal services, normal service times. I can't say we're having our normal services. We're having our special Christmas services.
We are.
At our normal times.
Yes.
Saturday at 7, Sunday at 9 and 11.
Yep. Behold.
Yes.
Here we go.
Hey,
it's exciting.
That's good. Yeah. So, and Merry Christmas. I just love this time of year.
Yeah, I do too.
You know, all the
really
Christmas lights and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're so neat. My youngest daughter, her and her husband went to North Carolina a couple weeks ago, and she toured this. It's like a mansion in North Carolina. This thing's huge. It's got 33 rooms. It's got an indoor swimming pool. This thing was built. They started building it in the late 1800s. Took 35 years to build.
Wow!
I mean, it's an amazing thing. But she was showing it to me, showing me pictures of all this stuff, and I said, "How many Christmas trees they have in that place?" They said, "There's one in every room." They've got them all set up. It's a tour thing now. The family, Vanderbilt, I think is what's the name of the family, and they moved out in the 50s, so nobody's been living there. But it's like an active tourist historical thing.
They turned it over to the...
It's like has gargoyles all around outside and different faces on every one.
Wow.
It's something you would think you'd see like in Scotland or something, you know, like, almost like a castle. Almost.
That is amazing.
Yeah, anyways, it was beautiful.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so we're going to have to go there sometime. You and Mom come to visit us. They're supposed to be moving there. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Good for her.
Anyways,
That's good.
It was
good.
cool. So I just love this time of year.
Yep.
Okay, we got some things to talk about. Before we do, we're going to do our Officer Down Memorial page. We're going to honor officers who were killed in line of duty on this date in history. And so December 20th, 1859, Patrolman John Stewart, patrolman for the New York Metropolitan Police Force, New York. Patrolman Stewart was killed in the collapse of a building at 54th and Broad Street in Manhattan. Let me read what happened here. Patrolman Stewart and several other patrolmen responded to the address after much of the building collapsed. Patrolman Stewart was assigned a post near the front of the building. After taking his post, and the rest of the building collapsed, seriously injuring Patrolman Stewart and killing a civilian. Patrolman Stewart was removed to the city hospital where he died that day from his injury. Patrolman is survived by his wife, 2 daughters, and a son, 35 years old.
Wow.
So a building fell down. I mean, you know what I thought about? I thought about the 9/11 towers.
Yeah.
You know, of course, this was not domestic. Didn't say what it was. It was probably an engineering problem or whatever it was. This is 1859, before the Civil War, in New York City. But the building started to come down. The officer was, "Hey, you got this post. Keep people out here. You know, keep this post safe." And he stood his post. And the building came down and fell on him.
Huh.
And he was killed, standing his post. 35 years old.
I'll be darned.
Standing guard. Faithful.
Very faithful.
Faithful to stand his
Dedicated.
post.
Yep.
And was killed by a collapse of a building.
I'll be darned.
So,
Well, this is police officer Jose Humberto Mesa. End of watch, December 20th, 2019. And this is another interesting one. Also very sad. All of these are just unfortunate. But this officer, Mesa, suffered a fatal heart attack following extensive training with his canine partner, Cuso. He and Cuso had conducted canine tracking training for several hours with other canine units. At the end of the training, Officer Mesa told other officers there he was not feeling well, and so he returned home. And the following morning, his wife called 911 and reported a medical emergency. He was transported to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead.
Wow.
So
How old is he?
30.
30 years old.
30 years old.
Wow.
His tour was 3 years and 6 months. So he served at a couple different departments and a sheriff's office. Survived by his wife, 2-year-old daughter, parents, and a sister. I'll be darned.
You know, I talked to them canine guys, and they're concerned about the dog and how much they work them, because you can literally work a dog to death.
Yeah.
A dog will work until they die.
Till they die, yeah.
And so they got to watch the dogs and be careful. You know how many hours are worked, and there's certain things that they watch on the dog. And they take care of the dogs and make sure they're fed right, make sure they get sleep right. We talked about sleep deprivation last week, and all this stuff. But you don't think about the officer sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, and this guy's 30 years old. Now, granted, it could be a problem that he has. You know, it could have been something that is a hereditary. That's what I'm trying to think of. It could have been that. You know, it could have just been something but the thing is we don't know. We had an officer die. We just talked about one that died of a building collapse.
Mm-hmm.
Now we died of a heart attack because you're doing excessive work on duty. So policing is dangerous work.
It is.
You know?
It really is.
So like you mentioned last time, we need to keep our police officers in prayer.
We do.
Think we need to remind ourselves of that. You see a police car driving by, pray for the officer in that car.
Yeah.
And for his family or her family.
Right.
And so, and if you miss... Excuse me. You have to cut some of that out, Gary. Make a little mark there, a little. Whatever you do to say, we got to cut this out and edit this so Tim doesn't sound like he's dying himself up there. If you miss Dog Watch, catch us on Amazon, Google, Apple, Spotify platforms. Gary's put us up on there. And of course, you can always catch us in the archive here at the rev.fm. Just go on your phone or your computer, find the rev.fm, and find Dog Watch. If you have any problems, just call Gary direct. He'll ask.
That's right.
He'll hook you up.
I will.
Yeah. No. Speaking of Christmas, I know you've been doing some shopping for the radio station here.
Yeah, sure.
Tell us about what is your list?
Oh,
what is your list
goodness,
to Santa Claus,
so
Gary?
excited. A brand new radio board.
Oh, what is
so
that?
A broadcast board. Yeah, so it's a broadcast, board. It's got sliders and knobs and
they can't see that, Gary.
No,
Gary's over here making all these motions and stuff. Gary, they cannot see that.
Oh, that's what makes things happen. I guess.
So what is this new board going to be able to do?
So we're going to be able to go live, which with the current board we don't have that option. So we do a lot of recording and pre-recording and things like that. And so we'll be able to go live. We'll have church services.
Cool.
Live. So that'll be exciting.
Excellent.
We'll be able to take phone calls live, so
that
we'll option for Dog Watch.
The ability to have good, clear phone calls where you're not calling somebody on Gary's cell phone and he's turning on speakerphone.
Right.
What's that echo in the back?
Yeah. Cool. It'll sound really good.
So this will be beneficial for us.
Yeah.
Is that we'll be able to do some live stuff. That'll be fun.
We will, yeah.
And beneficial for the audience. They'll be able to laugh at us in real time.
Exactly.
So when we're actually doing this, so that'll be good on both ends. Plus, we'll be able to make phone calls. There's a lot of people that I want to interview.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I'll be able to call them.
Yep.
And interview them.
Yeah.
And that'll be cool. So I'm looking forward to that.
That'll be great. Yeah.
Gary was telling about some changes that's coming. So
yeah,
that's cool to look forward to. So I was doing some research for this. And as I was doing some research, I found something that was almost hidden. This comes from Law Enforcement Today. Law Enforcement Today is a publication that's been around for a long time.
Okay.
But it was recently just bought by a Christian man.
Really?
He bought it. He was part of it. He was part of it. He worked in there. I can't remember what job he had within Law Enforcement Today. But when COVID hit and all that stuff, it really impacted Law Enforcement Today, and they were going to close it down.
Huh.
But he and his wife said, we'll buy it.
I'll be darned.
So they bought it, and it's a really good. So I'm going to start referencing Law Enforcement Today a lot more.
Yeah,
I've been familiar with this resource for years.
I'll be darned. That's a good resource.
And, that's cool. But one of the things, though, I found in their little when I was reading this, I pointed out to you yesterday, little mistake in numbers. Anyways, but what I found is I found this interesting. In Las Vegas, Nevada, there was a mass shooting. So a mass shooting is a shooting of 4 people or more in one incident or in a string of incidents. So it doesn't mean there was mass murder. Mass murder is 4 people murdered.
Okay.
So mass shooting is 4 people shot, 4 or more people shot. That doesn't mean they have to die. They're involved in mass shooting. But if it's a mass murder, then obviously you have 4 or more dead bodies. But so there was a shooting here, and what caught my eye, 2 things, is this happened on, I think December the 1st. Yeah, on Friday, December the 1st. And I never heard anything on the news. National news, I never heard anything on it. I looked at, I was just normal thing. And I was wondering why I didn't hear anything. And one of the reasons why I believe we didn't hear anything, the shooting took place at one of them homeless places in Las Vegas. So you had this guy come by and shot 5 people. 1 was killed and other 4 were hit. And he's identified as a man in his 50s. And I guess that's one of the victims was identified as a man in his 50s. But the shooter remains at large. They don't know who shot this guy. These guys, these 5 people, they just went by this homeless village, if you will, or whatever it is. Whatever
encampment.
Encampment, yeah, that's better. Encampment, and shot these people and took off. Well, and then there was a thing in Los Angeles, which is only about 4 hours away, and they're looking for somebody in the fatal shooting of 3 homeless people earlier in the week.
Oh.
So I don't know if this is tied together or not, but we may have somebody that's a serial killer in America that's targeting homeless people. Mm-hmm. I thought that was very interesting.
That's what I'm thinking of, yeah.
And so I started looking at this, and a couple things that disheartened me, Gary. I mean, these encampments, these homeless encampments, that's got to stop.
It really
that
does.
is just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
However, these are still people, and we need to take care of them some way as a society. If they're criminals, they need to be behind bars. If they're mentally ill, they need help and need to be in a hospital somewhere or something. But they don't need to be out living in the streets like that. Obviously, they're in danger, and they're a health risk to other people. Nevertheless, they are human beings, and somebody shot them, and it really wasn't. It was looked over on the news. And I thought about that. And so I was going to do some more research. And so on Wednesday, I was going to look at this, and I found that there was a shoot. That's when the shooting at Las Vegas at a UNLV was taking place.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that earlier. What surprised me about that, Gary, is I turned on the news, and it wasn't being reported. There was nothing about it. I'm like, did I read that right? Is that today? Did that happen an hour ago? And sure enough, it was going on. And Gary, if this was 10 years ago, all the stations would be carrying it live. Mm-hmm. Everything would have been shut down. No commercials, continuous news. People at work would say, hey, did you hear about the shooting? Hear about this? But now it's like there's a shooting at a college campus, and did you hear what McDonald's is doing now? And
Exactly.
It's just
it's on to the next thing.
It's on to the next thing.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And it's becoming commonplace in our country.
It really is. It's pretty unfortunate. And as we look at the things that are going on, Tim, I think it was last week. A couple weeks ago, actually, in Devos, in devotions, staff devotions that we have each morning that we were talking about Habakkuk. Habakkuk. Okay,
Habakkuk,
there we go.
The unknown prophets. If you were
so
prophets,
true.
why didn't your mom name you Habakkuk?
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you name any of your boys Habakkuk?
No, I did not.
And we know why, because you would have never done that. Anyways, Habakkuk is a small book in the Old Testament, 3 chapters. It's an amazing chapter. I'm going to read about the first 4 verses.
Yeah, this is interesting. This is so good.
It says this, Habakkuk, the prophet saw, O Lord, how long shall I cry for help, and you will not hear? Or cry to you violence, and you will not save? Why do you make me see iniquity, and why do you idly look at wrong? Destruction and violence are before me. Strife and contention arise. So the law is paralyzed, and justice never goes forth. For the wicked surround the righteous, so justice goes forth perverted. That sounds like that sounds today in America.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And so what was happening, Gary, is Habakkuk was looking at his own country of Judah. He was looking at Israel, Judah. And he was saying, Lord, I'm seeing all this taking place in my own country. When are you going to do something about this?
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord answers him. And the Lord says, I'm going to do something that you're not going to believe. And he's like, what's that? He goes, I'm going to call the Chaldeans to come down and punish my people. And Habakkuk was just dumbfounded. He's like, you got to be kidding me.
Mm-hmm.
We're bad because we're doing these things. But do you know how ruthless those people are, Lord? And you're going to use them to punish us? And so Habakkuk had a complaint against God. Have you ever had a complaint against God, Gary?
I have.
We're like,
Yeah.
Why, God? Why aren't you doing this? Like, oh my God. Well, so we come to chapter 2, and Habakkuk says this. He says, I will take my stand at my watchpost and station myself on the tower and look out and see what he will say to me. Talking to the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sit there. I'm going to see what God's going to say to me. And concerning my complaint, Habakkuk had no problem. He said, I got a complaint to the Lord. I want to listen to what the Lord has to say.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord answered me, write the vision, make it plain on the tablet so that he may run who reads it. For still the vision awaits its appointed time. It hastens to the end. It will not lie. The Lord goes on to describe what he's going to do. He will punish. He will come and he will punish. And then you go to chapter 3. This is the last chapter. And the Lord goes down through there in chapter 2. But then we come to chapter 3. And it says, a prayer of Habakkuk the prophet, according to Shinnigoth. I don't think I'm pronouncing it right. It says this, O Lord, I have heard the report of you, and your work, O Lord, do I fear. In the midst of years, revive it. In the midst of years, make it known. Then he says this, Gary, in wrath, remember mercy.
I like that.
Habakkuk was so hell-bent, if you will, on punishing the wicked.
Mm-hmm.
But when the Lord told him, when the Lord told him, justice is coming. Remember, the Lord says, vengeance is mine. I will repay, says the Lord.
In his time.
And he said, yes, in his time. And it's at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And
time.
It will come. And we need to be like Habakkuk. Don't pray for the Lord's wrath. Don't pray for the Lord's vengeance. Pray for his mercy.
Mm-hmm.
God will set things right.
Yep.
It's coming. But he is merciful. Why is it taking so long? You know, it says that the Lord tells him, he says, just wait.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming, just like you mentioned. It's coming at the right time. The Lord's has a timetable, and his will is going to be accomplished, and we just have to wait for the Lord.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean we just wait back and not do anything, obviously.
Exactly.
As Christians, the Lord has called us to do things. In Peter, we find that the Lord is not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord has charged his people, the New Testament church, to share the gospel. So as we share the gospel with others, as we share the gospel with our friends, with our neighbors, with the people we work with people we don't like, with people who are enemies, we share the gospel. The gospel has the power to transform lives.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, Gary, we always think, well, if that person just gets saved, their lives will be transformed. Well, yes, it would, but what about my own life?
Exactly.
You know, the gospel continues to work in me, and the gospel has the power to transform my life, so I can love people, so I can have patience with people, so I can deal with people properly.
That's exactly right.
And rightly.
So is all of these things that are going on, it is human to be angry or upset, or the Israel war, and to be like, why are they killing so many innocent people? Why, and stop this, and the mass shootings and the murders and rapes and all the crime that it's very easy, like you had said, to pray for God's wrath,
Pray to
justice.
God. Now, and with that, Gary, it's so important because I recorded one of the a Truth for Use a couple days ago, and it talks about being angry. Well, being angry, anger is an emotion, but what is that directed at? And it should be directed at evil.
Right.
There
Absolutely.
is evil, and we need to be angry with evil.
Yeah.
But we need to do something with that anger to have a positive outcome. And in the moment, anger may be self-defense, defense of another. Somebody's breaking into your house, you get angry, but you're going to protect your wife.
Yeah.
And that anger is going to spark you to do something and take care of that. But that anger, you shouldn't let that anger get out of control where somebody says something to you and you don't like what he or she said and you go over there and slap them in the face.
Right.
That's
not right.
improper. That's kind of simplistic, but that's improper anger. So the Lord gives us things. He gives us emotions. Emotions can be used for good or for bad.
Right.
And so we need to make sure we're angry at the right things and take action. Take the right action. Take the proper action. And pray for the Lord. Pray for those in leadership over us. Pray for those who are elected officials. And pray for your boss. Maybe you don't get along with your boss. You have a chip on your shoulder, or he or she has a chip on her shoulder against you.
Exactly.
Pray for them.
Yeah.
If you're a Christian, use the power of the gospel to continue to transform your life into the person that the Lord wants you to be. And let's not pray for God's wrath so much as to pray for his mercy. His wrath is coming.
It is.
There's no doubt about that.
It
hey,
is.
Looks like we're out of time, Gary. Oh, my goodness, already.
It is. And remember, law enforcement, pray for them.
Yes.
Also pray for our local authorities and
yes.
we're
going into, 2024 is almost here.
Yeah.
We're going into an election year, a national election year. So,
Yep.
so keep all these things in prayer. And
Yeah.
as a believer, run for office yourself. Get involved.
Absolutely.
Do things. Hey, thanks for listening. And if you have a topic or question you want to address on Dog Watch, send me an email. You can email suggestions, questions, comments, or complaints to dogwatch@therev.fm. That's dogwatch@therev.fm. A thought from the good book today. The Lord saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the heart was only evil continually. Thanks for joining us. Remember, make the watch strong.
Dog Watch is brought to you by the Strong Blue Line and your #1 Christian hit station. Send your comments and questions to dogwatch@therev.fm. You can download the Dog Watch episodes from therev.fm, as well as offer your financial support for this program. Be encouraged, be strengthened, be enabled in your faith with Dog Watch.